Good morning, traders, and welcome to Pre-Market Info. I'm Dennis Dick. We're having some technical difficulties here this morning. Joel's mic is not working, so bear with me. I'm flying solo here. The market here is flying back as well. We've had an interesting range overnight. If you bring up the pre-market chart there, 1549.75 has been the low. Again, we were down as much as 7 points here overnight, and now obviously we have come back here. Joel can actually see and control the charts here. He just can't see us, so just show us the pre-market chart there, Joel. The overnight action in the E-mini, we've been as low as 1549.75. We caught a bit around 1 a.m. and we have rallied ever since. Some of this might be because of Cyprus. Cyprus banks did open here this morning. They were a little bit of a mob scene off the hop, but they have calmed down. It's not chaos over there, so I think the market's liking that the Cyprus bank opening went kind of smooth. So maybe overnight we were a bit nervous with the banks reopening, sold off, and now obviously have caught a bid and been moving up here. Also, if you look yesterday's chart, same type of deal. We sold off significantly, obviously in the morning, and then we caught that bid once again, rallying all the way back up to 15.59. So if you look, it's interesting. Yesterday's chart and the overnight action, the E-mini, very similar here, where we got back into the 1540s. The buy the dip people come back in and rally the market right back up. We just reported GDP and we just reported the jobless claims. Numbers not bad. Market's sitting up here, up almost a point here right now at 1557.50. So again here, remember it's the end of the quarter today. A lot of times they like to ramp up the prices on these days. So it's always hard to say with 100% accuracy obviously what's going to happen. It's all just a matter of numbers and stats. But historically speaking, this day seems to be stronger as opposed to weaker, just because you get the mutual fund guys and get everybody trying to pump the prices higher so that their quarterly reports look better than they would otherwise. If you move on here, though, Joel, we do have BlackBerry reported earnings here this morning. 22 cents against estimates of losing 30 cents. So a huge beat for BlackBerry. Revenue's a little bit concerning. They were light. And if you look off the hop, though, the stock spiked up to 16.10. So here's BlackBerry. Closed at 14.57. Spiked all the way to 16.10 on that huge earnings beat. But then when you start analyzing the report a little bit deeper, says they may have lost as many as 3 million subscribers last quarter. That is concerning, obviously, for the overall market. Stock started selling off, got as low as 13.93. Kind of put in a double bottom there, and now has caught a little bit of a bid, is trading flat at 14.55. So a good earnings beat. The concern, obviously, is that the subscriber base is dwindling there. So at the end of the day, I guess the stock trades flat on when you put all that information in there. Interesting enough, every time BlackBerry gets into that 16 handle, it does sell off. You can see before it got up there. I can't see what the high is there, but actually it's 16. I can go grab it on my software. 1682 is the high that it got to just last week before selling off, and then Goldman Sachs downgrade made it sell off further. So stock does not like the 16 or the 15 handle apparently, and is weaker here, but has caught a little bit of a bid here just now. CEO will be on CNBC at 2 p.m. Eastern, so we'll have to watch BlackBerry around that time, seeing what exactly the CEO has to say about the report. Red Hat, RHT, reported earnings last night. Stock beat 36 cents against estimates of 30 cents. 348 million versus 349 million revenue. So the revenue was a bit light. Earnings beat. What a sell-off it was overnight. Look at that chart. It was up, obviously closed at 49.97. Looks like it got as low as 42 and change before catching a bid, has bounced. So these are wild after hours ranges here. Caught a bid, bounced, has been kind of settling here in this 47.50 to 48 area. Joel, we could see your picture there. That's interesting on the Dell webcam. But Joel just popped in just to show us his picture, even though he can't speak. All kinds of technical problems there this morning. But $48 is where we're trading at right now, 47.75. So it's been a wild range for Red Hat as well. Mosaic, MOS, also reported earnings here this morning. Joel, stock has beat 90 cents versus 88 cents, trading up here about a buck right now, 59.50. It actually, if well, it hasn't really traded very many shares at all here. It's only traded 2,200 shares, and it's been a slow drift up since it reported earnings. 59.54. 60 bucks on the chart here. When I look at it, looks huge to me. That's the bogey that I'd probably use. I think you might find some initial resistance there. You can see a couple of highs that we had: 60.27 on the 25th, and then 60.33 on the 24th, just the day before that. So actually, it was on the 22nd, the weekend before that. But if you look, there is a potential for that double top there. So I think even if you get above 60, that whole 60.27, 60.30 area could provide you some resistance. Winnebago reported earnings. Lots of earnings here this morning. We've been quiet, but we do have lots here this morning. Winnebago reported earnings, 22 cents versus estimates of 15. 177 million in revenue versus 170.86 million in revenue. So everything looking pretty decent at Winnebago, although the pre-market trade has been kind of quiet. It popped up, got a high as looks like around 22.50, pulled back here a bit now, trading almost flat at $22. It's trading only 12,000 shares, and the spread is wide, 21.92 to 23.02. So nobody's really confident where this thing's going to open right now. Would like to note it is that potential 22.34 was the high back on the 14th, and 22.21 was the high yesterday. So we do see a little bit of resistance there in the whole 22.34 area. If we were to get above there, that would be a new high on the move for Winnebago. Accenture also reported earnings. ACN stock beat $1 versus 97 cents. Revenue was okay at 7.1 billion versus 7.07 billion. They did announce guidance. It looked okay, but then they were saying there was going to be a one-time gain in there. So I think a little bit of the guidance was iffy. That's got a little bit of concerning here to the stock here. Obviously, has had a pretty decent sell-off in the pre-market. I'm not sure if those were some bad ticks down at 70 or not, because every time I've looked at the thing, it was trading around 72. Regardless, it's trading at $72.74 right now. Here in the pre-market on 63,000 shares, so quite a bit of volume. Its best bid is at 72.60. If you go out to the dailies and look at it, yesterday or 3 days ago we had a low of 73.22. Obviously, we've taken that out in the pre-market. I'm looking back here to this low on February the 7th, which was 71.58. Joel's pointed it out here for us. That's what he's looking at too. So 71.58 looks like the bogey here. If the stock continues to drift down, maybe you find some support in that area. Lots of other news here this morning. I'm just going to cover a couple. UTX is trading up here in the pre-market. Morgan Stanley initiating coverage with an overweight on UTX, raising their price target up to 105. So UTX actually is trading up here in the pre-market, just ticked up to 93 bucks, up about 40 cents here after closing at 92.61. Going out to the dailies, there has been major resistance up in this whole $94 area. That's obviously a ways away from here, but I think you can go up there. If I even go into the book, there's about 40,000 shares upselling up there in New York at 94. I think the high frequency guys have been leaning on him because it's put in a couple of tops right on the button at 94 in the last week and a half. So I'd expect resistance in the high 93s here once again if UTX continues to catch a bid. Facebook, what a turnaround yesterday. Joel, I got to give you props here. I know you can hear us. Too bad you can't speak about this one. But wow, I got to give you props on this. Facebook it traded yesterday just below $25. So I guess trying to shake out those who were picking bottoms. Got as low as $24.72, and then it was just a complete turnaround here. If we look at yesterday's chart, basically a few minutes after the open, after making that low of $24.72, it just caught a bid and never looked back. Rallied up over $26 to close as high as $26.09. It's up another nickel here this morning, $26.14, but this was a huge turnaround for Facebook. Joel was all over it, saying that there was, the potential for it to turn around at the old 50% retracement. He likes that Fibonacci number where you had the low back from the move. I think was around 17 or 18 bucks. And then obviously got all the way up into over $32. And when Joel did all the math in his head, figured all that out, he came up with a $25, 50% retracement number. It hit that right around very close yesterday and turned around. So a lot of times what I look for is these 2-day moves. You know how I like my 2-day move. This was a big move here yesterday. I think you caught some people shorting it. Probably they might be under water here a bit. So I would not be surprised to see some continued strength in Facebook here this morning. Google too. Google has an interesting chart here. Yesterday got as low as 801.33, and Joel was pointing out, and he actually was all over this too. Tweeted out the low back on the 18th was 801.47. So almost on the button, Google yesterday, making that potential for that double bottom. It has lifted up here a bit this morning at 804.04, so it's up $1.38. So until that 801 level, and I call the whole area $800. As long as that holds, like we've been saying, I think the bulls are still in charge. If 800 gives away, then I would become concerned maybe if I'm long it. But right now, there is the potential for a double bottom to be in place, so we have to be cognizant of that whole 801 area. Couple other ones I wanted to talk about here this morning. Joel wanted to talk about there was a shakeout in the SLV. Bring up the chart on the SLV yesterday. We've been talking about this 2750 level. SLV yesterday got, I don't have what the low was there yesterday on my software, but definitely took out that low. Looks like down to about 2730, 2740 area. Then turned around and caught a bid. So he had this whole breakdown through key support yesterday. Bounced back up. Is it a fake down or is it a real breakdown? I guess that's still to be decided. But you definitely probably caught a few people trying to short that breakdown. Did not work. The stock is still holding that overall area. If it takes out yesterday's low, then I probably get concerned here again that the breakdown might actually be real. But right now, the total 2750 area is still a very relevant number if you're trading the SLV. Let's talk about Apple here because Apple had a tough day there yesterday. Stock was trading down pretty significantly. Did cut through, if we look at yesterday's chart, Joe, just bring up yesterday's pricing action. Obviously cut through the whole 460 area, sold straight off, has continued to find support here in an area where it found support in the past. 450 has been big for this number too, or for the stock too. On the 20th of March, it hit a low of 449.59. On the 21st, it hit a low of 450.10. Yesterday, it hit a low of 450.73. So with all that, obviously this whole 450 area in Apple remains major support. It is holding it here this morning. It's critical that Apple holds on to this 450 level if you're trading it from the long side. LCC trading up here. The pilots ratify a new contract there. It's getting a little bit of a lift, so airline flying here, U.S. Airways Group, trading up at 1693 right now. Fairly light volume, only 7,000 shares, but it is getting a lift from yesterday. It's closed at 1665. Looking at the chart here, 3 days ago you had a high of $17 right on the button. We have cut through there slightly in the pre-market. If you go just before that, we had a high of 1743 on the 21st. That's been the high of the move. That's where major resistance falls. But the whole $17 handle has been tough for this stock. It's been up there 3 times, hasn't been able to hold it. In the pre-market, looks like it got around 1724. Couldn't hold 17 handle there again. So 17 has just been tough for LCC to hold. If it gets back up in that handle in the regular session, we'll have to see if the pattern continues where it seems to give back a $17 gain, or the gains when it gets into the $17 handle. Bring up the charts of XOM and Chevron because we were talking a few days ago how Chevron had taken off. So XOM basically broke out through the 90 handle the day before. Continued move here again today, breaking out, getting as high as 90.58, closing near the highs as well on XOM. If you look here, $91, absolutely enormous. I can see 70,000 shares up there, so I think that's where you're going to find more resistance coming up. Seems like every point on XOM runs into more institutional selling pressure. But interesting, though, that Chevron did not have a great day yesterday. So XOM, if you're pair trading those, XOM has been closing the gap a little bit with Chevron there, because Chevron actually was trading down there yesterday when Exxon was having a pretty good day. Chevron has run into sellers in the whole 121 area. I think that may continue here again. The day before, a high was right around that 121.13. The day yesterday was 120.71. Every time this thing gets into the high 120, seems to run into a few sellers. But if you're pair trading those two, it looks like XOM is your leader here again and showing a little bit of relative strength compared to Chevron. Moving on here, a few other things. One stock that is absolutely looks like it's going to be your big stock, your big mover here of the day, RPRX, which is Repros Therapeutics. That's Roger Paul Roger X-Ray. Bring up the pre-market chart on this one because this thing's up 77% here this morning. It's one of those small drugs or small companies that basically rely, on just a one or two drugs. They have a successful androxyl study. That is what is making the stock fly here this morning. So interesting enough, if you look back, this thing is just flying here. It's up at 16.20 right now after closing at $9.13. If we go out to the dailies, this stock had a huge sell-off back there in late January where it was trading up over $19. Boom, basically in one day, sold all the way off to 11, probably on concerns maybe that the studies weren't going well. February got a pop. Then it had a drop again. Now it's got a huge pop here again. Is it going to be followed with another drop? Who knows? But this morning, this is very strong here on this successful androxyl study. 1624 is where the stock is trading at right now. Overall market thoughts here. Obviously, we are on the end of the quarter here. 15.57 is where we're trading on the E-mini. We have been as high as 15.59. Seem to continue to run into problems here right around 15.60. So that's been the area of resistance. It'll be interesting to see if they can pop it over the 15.60 to close on a new high for the end of the quarter. I mean, it's kind of like a storybook thing. End of the quarter, we make a new high. I can just see how they would like that to happen. So you definitely have a few people probably going to try to push this market higher, even potentially towards the end of the day. It's just a matter of whether they can do that or not. But would not be surprised to see some follow-through strength here today with the end of the quarter. That's our show for today, guys. Have a great trading day. Sorry again about the technical difficulties. We'll get those ironed out, and we'll be back with you guys on Monday.